As you know, I'm Staff Inspector Greg McLane. I'm the unit commander of the Toronto Homicide Squad. I'm joined here today by Deputy Chief Mark Saunders and former unit commander of the Homicide Squad. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for attending here this afternoon. I believe it is necessary to work closely with our partners in the media to ensure information is delivered to the public, to inform and to seek assistance of the public to advance our ongoing investigations. I've asked you to come here today to inform you of the results of Project Sugar Horse. I will start by providing you with a brief history on Project Sugar Horse and how it evolved and the results of those investigative efforts. Project Sugar Horse commenced on April 3rd, 2013. The project came as a result of the investigation and analysis of information gleaned from a number of homicides and shooting investigations that have occurred in 2008, 2011, and 2012. It was the belief of investigators, and it is alleged, that a number of these homicides and shootings are associated to a group of individuals that were active in the City of Toronto, specifically number 32 Division and number 11 Division. The Homicide Squad, with the assistance of resources from Detective Services and Divisional Policing Command, continued to investigate these homicides and the group of individuals that were suspected of being involved. This morning, members of the Homicide Squad, assisted by Detective Services and members from Divisional Policing Command, executed a number of search warrants, resulting in the arrest of individuals that we believe are responsible for 4 homicides and 2 separate shooting events that occurred within the City of Toronto during that time period. As of today's date, the following events have been linked to this group. The attempt murder of Kenneth Mark, 29 years of age. On September 2nd, 2008, Kenneth Mark was sitting on a planter located at 2490 St. Clair Avenue West, speaking with a friend. It is alleged that the accused approached Kenneth Mark from behind and shot him in the head. Kenneth Mark survived his injuries. The accused in this event is a young offender, and I'm not at liberty to divulge his identity to you at this point. The charge is attempt murder. The young offender was arrested without incident. Homicide 33 for 2011. The murder of Jermaine Smith, 28 years, of Mississauga. On August 27, 2011, at 9:57 p.m., the members of number 11 Division responded to a call for a shooting at 4020 Dundas Street West. It was at this time that officers located the lifeless body of Jermaine Smith lying in a parking lot. He had been shot numerous times. Jermaine Smith had attended a back-to-school community barbecue at the complex. There were approximately 50 to 100 attendees. A high and large percentage of those were children. Mr. Smith was approached by 2 males wearing dark hoodies drawn over their faces. It is alleged that the accused pulled out a handgun and shot the deceased numerous times. It is also alleged that this was a targeted homicide that resulted from a prior altercation between these individuals. Charged with first-degree murder is Aman Kiar, a.k.a. Biggs, 24 years of age, of Toronto. This individual is currently in custody on firearms-related charges stemming from a shooting event that occurred in the entertainment district in August of this year. Homicide 18 for 2012. On May 10th, 2012, at 2:54 p.m., members of number 11 Division responded to a call for a shooting at 4020 Dundas Street West, where they found the body of Delano Coombs on a footpath in the area, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. And his family is here today to support this press conference. The three suspects originally approached Delano Coombs as he drove his vehicle into the area. It is alleged that the accused persons fired a number of rounds at the vehicle, striking Delano Coombs prior to fleeing the scene. It is alleged that this is a targeted homicide resulting from a prior altercation between these individuals. The accused, in relation to this event, is Jerome Bent, a.k.a. Germs, 22 years of age, and Delan McMorris, a.k.a. Young, 23 years of age. These individuals have been charged jointly with the offense of first-degree murder. Jerome Bent is currently in custody, serving a 6-year sentence for possession of a restricted firearm. Delan McMorris is currently in custody on a firearms-related charge that stemmed from a shooting event in the entertainment district in August of 2013. Homicide 30 for 2012. On July 19, 2012, at 1:05 a.m., members of 32 Division attended at Flemington Park Public School located at 10 Flemington Road, where they located the lifeless body of Daniel Davis, who had suffered from a number of gunshot wounds. Daniel Davis was in the schoolyard with a number of his friends. 3 vehicles came into the area and stopped. A number of persons exited their vehicles, approached the group, and fired a number of rounds, striking the deceased. The suspects then fled the scene. It is alleged that this homicide was a random act of violence. Charged with this event is Jerome Bent, 22 years, Shaquille Weedle, 19 years, Jatharsan Rajarubakumar, a.k.a. Yadi, 22 years, Dwayne Willis, a.k.a. Mafia, 20 years, Brescian Roach Ferguson, a.k.a. Bread, 20 years, and Amanda Rumbold, a.k.a. White Millie, 29 years. These individuals are all charged jointly with the offense of first-degree murder as it relates to this event. All of the accused were arrested this morning without incident. The attempt murder of a 19-year-old male. On September 11, 2012 at 5:30 p.m., the victim was walking on the street in the area of Dallner Road and Loney Avenue. A vehicle with occupants drove beside him and asked him a number of questions. It is alleged that the accused Bent then fired a number of rounds at the victim, striking him. The victim survived his injuries. It is alleged that this attempt murder was a random act of violence. Accused in this event are the accused Jerome Bent and Amanda Rumbold, 29 years. These individuals were charged with attempt murder jointly in relation to this event. Homicide 45 for 2012. On October 29, 2012 at 11:55 p.m., members of number 32 Division responded to a call for the sound of gunshots in the area of 47 Flemington Road. Upon arrival, they located Marvin Engelbrecht in a prone position on the front steps of the address. Marvin was transported to the hospital where he later succumbed to his injuries. Marvin Engelbrecht was walking his dog down the street when a vehicle with a number of occupants pulled up alongside. One of the occupants exited the vehicle and chased the deceased up the driveway of the residence, firing a number of rounds. It is alleged that the accused approached Marvin Engelbrecht and fired one round to his head prior to fleeing the scene. This event is alleged to be a random act of violence. Accused as it relates to this particular homicide is Shaquille Weedle, 19 years of age. He's charged with first-degree murder. All these arrested parties are presently appearing in Toronto West courts and being held in custody pending a bail hearing. The investigation into these events are still ongoing. This enforcement action is merely a phase in the investigation. My investigators will continue to investigate, analyze, and correlate information and evidence to further these investigations to identify other events that may have been committed at the hands of this group or by individuals that are associated to them. I encourage anyone that has any information that may assist in these investigations to come forward and contact a member of the Homicide Squad at 416-808-7400 or by contacting Crime Stoppers at 416-222-TIPS. The officers in charge of Project Sugar Horse are Detective Sergeant Pauline Gray and Detective John Marketson. Detective Sergeant Gray can be reached at that main number at 808-7400, extension 7412. And Detective John Marketson can be reached directly at 808-7400 at extension 7398. And those four numbers are start off with the number 7, so it would be 7 and then the 4 digits. Your information is extremely valuable to us, and we will do anything in our power to ensure your safety and security. It is extremely important for the members of the public to have faith and trust in the Toronto Police Service to investigate violent crime and bring offenders to justice. There are individuals who are present for and have information in relation to these violent acts, in addition to other homicides and violent acts that have occurred within the city over the past time. I am appealing to them specifically to come forward and to share the information with our investigators so we can move these investigations forward and draw them to a successful conclusion. Without the cooperation of members of our communities, these violent offenders will continue to victimize them and their communities in impacting their overall sense of safety and security where they live and where they work. Any piece of information, no matter how small or insignificant, may be of a great value to the investigators. We cannot do this without your assistance. I thank you all for attending here today. I will attempt to answer any questions. However, please bear in mind that these charges are currently before the courts, and I will not be getting into the minutiae or the details of the evidence that we have gleaned during these investigations.
Staff Inspector, what do you mean by random acts of violence? Are you alleging that they just picked victims at random and just without knowing them, without having any sort of connection?
Yes.
So how would you describe these accused then?
Ruthless.
Why were they doing this, would you say?
I can't discuss the motivation behind these events, but on their surface and in the lack of any information to suggest the contrary, some of these acts are just, as I said, random acts of violence. They've just come upon these people, engaged them, and murdered them.
Could they be behind more incidents that maybe are still under investigation?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, we're continuing to drill down through our investigations to try to mine out information that could suggest or help us understand what other acts that they've been responsible for. This is just, as I said, a mere phase in this investigation.
The two incidents, the two murders that happened in that townhouse complex, I believe Smith and Coombs, were those targeted attacks? Those ones were targeted?
Yes.
And the other ones were random?
Yes.
Greg, would you classify this as a gang? Is this, a lot of them had nicknames.
Well, I'll go this far. Nicknames are something that a lot of people have. Just a mere nickname does not make somebody a gang member. They're clearly associates. We can clearly put them with each other. I can't really tell you that they're a member of any organized street gang to fall under the definition of that at this point in time. But they are a group, and they do hang out, and they do commit criminal offenses together.
Was there any one of these in particular? I mean, I know that, granted, this is all still under investigation and heading to the courts, but is there anything that you can say in terms of how you managed to thread all of these together? Was there a starting point?
No, I can't begin to comment on how this was all put together.
I mean, you're head of homicide. To see this many young men involved in this many acts of violence, some of them random. I mean, in your personal opinion, what was your reaction when you started to meet?
Well, it's an anomaly. We've seen it before. We saw it before with the investigation into an individual by the name of T-Sean Riley. We saw this type of behavior. It seems to be becoming more prevalent. It's very concerning. And this is why I have to stress that it is so important that the public be conscious of this, and that when they have information, that they come forward, because these people, when they're held responsible that are committing these acts, they need to be incarcerated. People need to be protected from these violent offenders. And it's crucial. And it has to stop.
How did this group know each other?
Pardon?
How did this group know each other? Were they childhood friends? Did they go to school?
I can't really, I don't want to get into the evidence as to why they're associated or how they're associated. I'm just telling you that they are associated, and they do hang out together, and they do commit crimes together.
So the shooting of Kenneth Mark, was that the shooting that he went to police for later and he was ultimately killed for?
I beg your pardon?
The shooting of Kenneth Mark,
Yes.
the attempt murder. That was the shooting that he went to police for, testified in open court about, and was ultimately murdered for.
Yes.
And what are you alleging he was shot for to begin with, the attempt murder?
I don't want to get into the motivation behind any of these shootings. Some of it is not understood. Some of it is, but I can't really delve into that right now.
Greg, can you tell us a little bit about one of the suspects in this case? His name comes up several times, Kenneth Mark. Sorry, not Kenneth Mark, Jerome Benz. Can you tell us a little bit more about this person? Obviously, he's been already serving some time for the weapons charge. And what else can you tell us about this man?
I don't want to get into the character or personalities of these individuals. I'm here today to tell you that we've done an investigation. They were identified as the persons, we alleged are the persons responsible. And I don't want to get into what their personal character is or what evidence we do have that supports the foundation for a prosecution.
Are there more members of this group that hangs out together? Are there still arrests to be made in these cases?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer, because we're still delving into this, and I'm sure there is other people they know. I can speculate to say that, but we have to drill down and try to find out what other offenses, if any, these people are responsible for, and who are the other associates that may have acted with them.
Court appearances happening
Today.
So they're happening today?
Yes.
How many people total between all the 6 cases do you have charged? Just
Um,
because of repetition there.
Yeah, there was some, just if you don't mind, bear with me.
So 6 cases.
I believe the number was 8. I just want to verify that.
Posted on the website.
Yeah. And I mean, the one murder in particular you talked about, where I think there were 5 people charged, what are you alleging happened there? Because, I mean, for that many people to be charged with attempted, or not, or sorry, with first degree is kind of unusual.
I will say that we know who the trigger men are, and the other individuals aided and abetted in that act taking place.
Are you alleging that there was only one person though who fired shots?
I'm not going to comment on how many people. We know who they are.
Okay.
And the others were present and aided and abetted in the commission of the offense in some way, shape, or form.
So the first degree murder then, in those random acts of violence, you're alleging that these people went out, they decided they were going to kill somebody, they found a person at random, and somebody pulled the trigger.
That, we'll have to wait and see how the evidence is.
That's the allegations.
Yes, it is.
Did any of them get bailed out today?
I'm not aware of that at this point. I haven't received any information about any of them getting bail yet.
Where were the search warrants executed this morning? What area or division or?
They were in the Greater Toronto area.
Staff Inspector, you called it anomaly. Have you ever seen something like this before? Groups of people allegedly going out looking for someone, anyone to kill. I know you mentioned that there's another case that you could think of, but
That's the only real two that I can really think of at this point in time. Yeah, just the two, I think, at this point.
There's nothing to lead, during your investigation right now, there's nothing to lead perhaps that they were, they thought that person was somebody else. I mean, It sounds really strange to think that someone would just shoot all of these people at random.
Yeah, I find it just as strange as you do, actually. It is an anomaly. And
Sorry. Have weapons been recovered? Have guns been during
I
these?
don't wanna comment on the evidence in the case.
Okay, thank you very much.